all.
So welcome back, everyone. We are here at the World Autism Summit with Tarita Davenock. And I'm going to let her introduce herself, but just know that she is moving the needle of understanding and success around the globe, literally, because she is helping people travel around the globe, that people with autism neurodiversity and those that support them, but most importantly, helping them lead by letting them be in the center of leading themselves around the planet. So kudos to you, Tarita. So jump in there and tell us all about you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's absolute joy. So my name is Tarita Davenock, and I am the founder and owner of Travel for All. Travel for All's main vision and mantra is that travel should be inclusive, not exclusive. And that I've noticed that probably all my life. When I myself was diagnosed with a disability is when my world completely changed. I went from spending all this money in university and working as a social worker, and I had to revert back to my first love, which was travel. I've traveled the world, and when I was diagnosed with MS, it changed how I travel, but it did not stop that I love traveling. So I think that what we need to do when it comes to autism or Down syndrome or any developmental disability, and I apologize everyone for the stutter, that's my little gift with birth just from MS. But the most important thing is that you have to have the family member who is on the spectrum. You have to understand that they need to be held in the limelight for planning this trip. They need to feel that they're the most valued because their life since their diagnosis, they've competed potentially with their brother, with their sister, so they've never ever felt like they actually were the winner. So for a trip to really, really go well for family, put that child in the center. Let that child, let the person who has autism feel that they are a value. The value to the equation is about having that person with MS be the one to start the discussion. And how you do, and you could do it very easily. I mean, you and your husband may have spoken about Disneyland for eons, just take kids to Disneyland. But in order for it to work effectively with your child that has autism, if you, and this is something I hear all the time, I took my child with autism on a flight. Oh my gosh, they had a fit, and we're never ever doing it again. We'll just stay at home, get some movies, and that's it. And that's wrong. Don't take that. That wasn't the child that was slipping out. It was circumstance that you put them in that caused them to react the way they did. So the best thing is when you're planning a trip, or you and your husband in the background have talked about Disneyland. So what you want to do is bring it up casually and say something to your family. And I'm going to use Jimmy. Jimmy is the character's name. So Jimmy's first name. So you say to Jimmy, Jimmy, how do you feel about taking a vacation? I've heard you kind of mumbling about the different places you'd like to go. I think you said something about Disneyland. And oh yeah, Disneyland would be really, really cool. What a great idea, Jimmy. You know what? What do you think we should do next? Well, we need to look at Disneyland. Well, you know what? Great. Why don't I get some brochures or something for us to look over and as a family? And what do you think about us having kind of a little family meeting? And yeah, I think it would be really, really good if is what Jimmy would say. Okay, Jimmy, you tell me. What do you want to do? What day works for you? Friday. Friday works for you. Okay, so Friday it is. Well, you know what? Let's make this a lot of fun. I'll have the pictures for us to look at, brochures, maybe even DVDs. But I know that you like to have some sort of snack when we're doing that. What is popcorn? Let's have some popcorn and some chips and pop. Okay. So you know what? Let's make it a really, really great family night. And Jimmy, you are going to lead this because I value your opinion, and I thank you so much for bringing this up so that we can get moving on this holiday. I'm so excited, Jimmy. Let's take the first step. And so you get all of your materials together for your family night. You sit down, pop on the video that Disney has sent to you, get some brochures, pop the popcorn, and let Jimmy lead the conversation. So, hey, Jimmy, what really interests you about Disneyland? Is it Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse? And Jimmy would say, no, it's Buzz Lightyear. I'm throwing out, I'm thinking all of the Disney that I've watched. Buzz Lightyear, because he's really, really, he's tough. And he does things for everybody. He was so good. And all he was doing is he wanted them to like him. And that's when you can say, you know what? I agree with you, Jimmy. He was such an important part of that movie. I really agree with you. And that's why you're in charge of this. So during movie night, you've taken notes of what you're going to be looking at. And you ask questions like, do you think that we should stay at the Disney hotel? Or should we stay somewhere outside of Disneyland? Well, no, we're going to Disneyland. So why do you want to stay somewhere other than Disneyland, Mom? Jimmy says, no, Disneyland. So you don't know now. You're adding some money on your trip. You should stay right in the park. And you then think about what you need to have on a flight to keep the family member with autism calm and creative. And so you would say, Jimmy, you know what? I know the flights can be really, really scary. So what do you think for your brother or sister and even your dad? What should we get to keep busy on the flight? And he would say, well, Mom, I don't know. Let's go to the dollar store. Okay, Jimmy, you know what? We're going to go to the dollar store and let's go and get some books. And what do you think we should have? I don't know, books and coloring and pens and pencils and snacks. Gotta have snacks. So you sit down with Jimmy and you write down what you're going to get. And then you ask him, well, I don't know, what do you think your brother or sister would like to do? I don't know, I think we should ask them. Yeah, let's ask them. So, Jimmy, okay, you ask your brother and your sister, what should we have in our busy basket? So you then make plans to go to, and I just said the dollar store, but you can go anywhere. You go into a bookstore or into a Chapters. I love Chapters because they have something for everyone. They've got right up by their till. They have great little books you can get, little pens and neat little things. So something that's really, really tiny and not a big deal to you could make Jimmy over the moon that he got this. So now you got your basket, you're throwing in there all kinds of stuff for the family to keep busy. Mm-hmm. And Jimmy also mentioned snacks. Got to have snacks. So now you would go and you would pick up your whatever snacks that Jimmy likes to have at home. And so you would, we should probably put some healthy stuff in there for your brother and sister, like granola bars. Yeah, I guess so if we have to. So you create this neat bag. You put in a bag, a special bag that is the family kit that you take with you. Now, what is beautiful with airlines and airports is they have the practice in place. So you, and I think it's every airport. So what you want to do is you want to somehow or other have Jimmy be the one to lead that. Then you would say, Jimmy, I was told that airports can be kind of scary. Should we go to the airport? Yeah, we should go to the airport. So you then make arrangements for your family to do the practice run. Now, Jimmy's come up with this great idea. Jimmy, with a great idea. Do the practice run at the airport. So it's really neat because the airports have everything in place for you to actually board the flight. You go through every single stage that you would. You go through security, and you'll do all these things that you have to do when you board flights. So when you leave there, the airport will allow you full of stickers and pencils and pens and what have you. So you put all that together, and you can do this a few times, as many times actually as you want. And I recommend doing it 2 times at least.
So how do you hope to make the biggest impact in the world? Like around, I know you're why you're here for the World Autism Summit, and it's a global summit. How do you want to see the biggest impact everywhere in the world with what you do?
The biggest impact everywhere in the world is that everyone should have the right to see, feel, taste, breathe every bit of the world. It's for everyone.
Yeah.
It's not just for you, or it's not just for myself. It was a world made for everyone. And so since I've started my new career 16 years ago, when I started a company, and I see people in wheelchairs that are getting up and going to go diving, and they're swimming. And I even have clients that are doing South African safaris, and they want to swim with the sharks. And I think, good Lord, but they want to, so we can arrange that. What I want the world to be is an inclusive and open and non-judgmental world. The world, unfortunately, is never going to be perfect, but if we can put perfect leaders at each one of the places in the world that we want to change, we have something there. So that's really important. Be the leader. Don't be a follower. Be a leader. That I think is the biggest.
That's right. Juan and I have both traveled. We're both world travelers. I traveled because my mother was working for the airlines, Pan American, and so
Pan American.
and he lived all around the world too. So travel is really important to us. And it's really important that you're here talking about travel, because so many people want to travel and they want their kids to travel and not stay at home. And so it's just really very important to us. You lived in Germany?
Yes, I live in the United States. My dad was a military officer, very high ranking. So part of NATO, he was part of that. So I lived in Boulder for approximately 4 years. Then he off to Germany as base commander of our base in Lahr. Then we're off to Paris for 4 years, then off to England. And then later I joined the armed forces as an officer, and I traveled to Africa, everywhere, all over the world. And it was important. It was very important for me to learn other cultures, just to learn that we're all equal. We think the same, and we are in many ways the same. There's no difference. People, we want our kids to do well. Mm-hmm. We want our kids to be happy. We want to be happy. You know, it's all the same. People are people. Human beings are human beings, and we all
have the same blood. We all have the same color.
Yeah, the blood's it's all red.
Right. Right. Exactly. And being of different ethnicity myself, I know that it can be, and it's kind of funny because when we're looking at grants for people to support what we do.
Yes.
My husband always laughs because he says, well, honey, you tick every box. You're a different ethnicity. You're a woman. You have a disability. Tick, tick, tick. I said, yes. So show me the money. I guess that's what you're saying. But it's true. It's I want to see people. In fact, one of my parts of our company is called Access Locals. I think I told Karen about it. Access Locals is to train people who have disabilities in the accessible tourism space. Because there's a company called Tours by Locals that was founded in Vancouver, billion dollar company. And so one night it came to, why can't we do that with people with disabilities? Because if Bob Smith is coming from South Africa and he has a spinal cord injury, and he wants to come to Washington, D.C. And if he is greeted in Washington by somebody else with a disability, who's going to tell him about Washington and potentially have some tourism places that are accessible, and this person can lead this. So now we've created inclusion. We have created a job for somebody, a career.
Yeah. I have a question for you. It really was intrigued me. Like, what got you interested in traveling? I mean, that is something that I'm very interested in that.
Well, I think when I was a young child, my family's from the Fiji Islands. That was one of my first trips, was to Vancouver, Hawaii, Nandi. And when I stayed in Fiji, it was so much fun. As a kid, all my cousins were there. So what did we do? We ate, we played, we ate, played, and ate, played some more. So as a child, it was essential in my brain how travel can be so much fun because you're meeting people. And that's exactly what we did. As a family, we went out shopping into markets and things. You got to meet new people. And that stuck with me for a child. And that was it. So then when I was in high school, of course, I had to be part of musical theater. I had to be part of drama. I had to be part of the travel club. And so what the travel club was all about was learning about a destination, having our parents make 500 cupcakes so we could raise funds for us to go to this particular destination. So I traveled in high school. And then when I left high school, I was in university. So every summer, my friends and I, we would work. So every penny we earned, we kept so we could travel. And so my first trip with my pals was to backpack to India, which is, this course was pre-MS. So certainly something that was quite easy to do. And it was sit with someone and discuss where they live, what their family was like, what they had as a child, what they wanted to be when they grew up. It was just amazing to go into the rooms and notice that they didn't have a desk or a computer or really nice, pretty little cover on the bed. They had just a blanket, a pillow. But they were so happy. They just loved everything. And they introduced me to people, and it stuck with me. You want to meet people, you want to have fun, travel.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. One thing like we talked a little bit about autism and neurodiversity, and it's a very large spectrum. And there's people that all the way from non-speaking and all the way to very, very verbal. And you understand a lot about autism and neurodiversity from what I pick up. What do you know in that area though? I mean, I know there's lots of challenges, but
well, it's sort of, I think, serendipitous because I used to be a social worker. So growing up, I worked with children who had different disabilities, and I babysat them. So I was it was not something foreign to me. So when I wanted to go to school, my mom asked me what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I want to be a social worker. So I went to school. I wanted to be a social worker, but I wanted to dive in deeper. And so I wanted to learn more about what makes the reaction happen, or why doesn't the reaction happen. So I went to school, went to university, got my degree in social work, and so I did that, and then I wanted to learn about, like I say, more about the brain. Why does it think the way that it does? So I did my behavioral psychology, and that really related very, very well to autism, because autism is what families struggle with so much, are behaviors. That's what they always, I can't get better. That's what the battle is, back, forth, back, forth. And that's why that's what intrigued me. So when I was in social work, I loved doing what I did. I went to families' homes and helped them together behavioral plans and how can you deal with they're wanting to like garbage out of the kitchen floor. How do you do these things? How do you make this work? Not just for you, but for the person on the spectrum, because they're the ones really that we need to not change, but we need to maybe adjust what's going on in the house. Because this person with autism most definitely is reacting to what's happening at home, or what they hear or see or smell or eat. And so I was fascinated by it. And so I stayed, I was in social probably about 8 years. And then when I was diagnosed with MS, and I stayed for a year or two, and MS is, social work is a very, very busy career.
Yeah.
I was in an office, you're out all the time. So I was always just thinking, sorry, I can tell you want me to ask me something.
Well, I just want to tell you that I too am a social worker, educated in social work, and I too taught a lot of psychology and look forward to understand people, like sociology as well, to understand the brain, to understand people. But I have a question for you. In all of your travels, and you traveled extensively, what country was the most courteous to those with autism, neurodiversity, with the disabilities?
Well, of course, North America, because it's something that we're very aware of. I'd probably say Europe. I've been Germany was beautiful. Munich, and I also think Italy. So really the European group of countries, I would say Amsterdam was wonderful. These countries though, like I have to say Europe, for accessibility really is ahead of Canada, ahead of the US. I have to say, because they're very, very aware of it. So I think if you're aware, that's the best place to go. It's a place that particular country is working on becoming inclusive. But they started well before we did. And so that's the place to go is somewhere that understands you. And that's really what I think the biggest thing is to choose where you go. And there's nothing wrong with taking somebody who's on the autism spectrum to Germany or France or Paris. If you start when that person is young and don't read them books that are boring, but start telling them about the Champs-Elysees, tell them about Paris, tell them about the Louvre, tell them about the storming of the Bastille. Really get this child interested, because hey, and then you can always say, we're trying to go to a place that we read about, and now you've intrigued them because they know all about what the Louvre is, what the Champs-Elysees is, and they want to go. They've read, they've heard all about the walking the Champs-Elysees, having the warm chestnuts as you walk down and if you're lucky, you can buy something, maybe. I bought a hat. Totally could afford. I can say I bought something at the Champs-Elysees. So that is probably, I think, what everyone should do.
Agree. I was gonna say, when I took my son down to the States, I never was really afraid, never really thought about it, because I traveled from the time I was born practically. But what some of the challenges are around fears that we never even think about. And one of the fears that we had was getting on the plane and going through the security. And he watched so many animated movies and things about the plane blowing up and things like that, So I just read a social story to say that he just wrote a social story that they were going to check him out completely. and he can walk through the security, and they're gonna check for bombs and things like that. Don't worry, the plane is not gonna blow up, and he will be able to parachute out safely in case it did.
And when you're practicing a couple of times, they're going to know your child. If you've gone through a few times, your child's going to wave, but here, and they're going to yell, say, "Oh, you're back, Jimmy." "Yeah, I'm back." It's, and yeah, the bomb thing. It's just a funny story. I can remember there was one he was a teenager who's on the spectrum, and it should be a comedian. I told him, when you grow up, become a comedian. And so we were in the mall and we were shopping, and so he decided he was going to be really, really funny. To go into a store, and he says, I want to shop here. And I said, okay. And he said, but I want to go to the bathroom. And I said, well, we got to do one thing that's important first. So we go to the bathroom, we come back, goes into the store. He said, oh, I still feel kind of gassy. And I said, so I'll keep that to yourself. And so he says, yep, thank you, Tarita, for telling me not to fart. Thank you so much for telling me not to fart. Then he said it 10 times. And I laughed. People were looking at us, so there was something wrong. So I'm on the floor just about busting my gut. And he continued on. He said, yep, thank you. I used to be carcinogen. Yep, thank you telling me, carcinogen, that I shouldn't fart. He cleared the hill. That story, people laughed, actually. It's really, I found those really amusing part, which people actually walked out. And he was a nice little that. You put that in your act.
Transparency.
Absolutely.
What else was it? Yeah, bathroom issues can be a challenge for people on the spectrum, because some toilet training can be an issue. So that is also something you probably have to address as well, but we don't have to get into that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Karen, the airplanes, if you're in a wheelchair, good luck.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, I'm very honest with them. And I'll tell them, if you're taking a long flight, if this person has MS or Parkinson's and they tend to frequently have to go to the bathroom, I will say catheterize. That's the best thing for you, to sit back and enjoy yourself and drink merrily and laugh story. Yeah. And I'll say that, and people have to be one thing about the disabled community is we can talk, we've known each other forever. And I'll say, well, I had a conversation with this family member, and I said to the fellow who he's the one who was worried about the bathrooms. I said, well, what do you think is the best type of brief to wear, or diaper, or whatever you think? He says, well, I hate pens. I can't stand that because their commercials are pathetic. So we're not doing the pens. I said, okay, you can use whatever one you like, but you get very, very intimate. You're speaking about the most embarrassing things for people is, well, about what kind of diaper hold the most urine. And you have to be, because they're going to trust you when they know that you share your most embarrassing things too, and I do. And so we laugh, and then we get on with it. And I think for a child, somebody on the spectrum, bathrooms, you're not going to get them catheterized, not going to happen. So what I would suggest is pull-ups. It doesn't matter if that person on the spectrum is 21 or 22. So what? You know what? Let's give it a different name. But people call them diapers. I call them my sexy underwear. And I say, if I'm wearing it, they're sexy. So that's why they're sexy underwear. And so, you've got to be creative. If you have a child who's on the spectrum or has any type of developmental disability, you better learn to become funny. You had to learn to laugh at jokes. You have to learn to relax, let go. And I always say, let go. You don't hold on so tight. Let that person with autism be the one in the limelight. Let them stand out every once in a while because they don't get to. The only time that they stand out is when the social worker is saying, well, Jamie, I hear they have problems with you in school. They're always in a negative way is when they are in the standout position in the family. Typically not something positive, like, oh, you made this great picture, or look at that, you on piano, I hear you do. They don't hear things like that. It's very rarely. So let's give them things that make them feel valued, that they are a valued member of that family, because it's always their brother kicked butt in soccer, their sister did really, really well in dance. What does he have? So you have to find something that is their value the value equation, that's what I call it.
No,
Find a way to give that family member the value, whether it be that person leads, is the first one to taste the meal, or helps with cooking, even if it's putting a sprinkle of chili flakes in something, they help prepare that meal. And you've given them value. Now when you sit down to have dinner, all of you as a family, drinking me in the limelight, you say, Jim, can you help me make chili tonight, guys? What do you think? He's in the limelight in a positive way. There's so many things I always tell, and I did this as an experiment. A girlfriend of mine had her son was on the spectrum, and she told me all of them tears because she was pulled out of school for beating up somebody who does this and that. And she always says to me, I don't know why he is so happy with you. I said, he's happy with me because you give me him. He doesn't have to change, just have to put on a different wears or airs because it's me. If he wants to be silly, he can be silly. If he did beyond the point of my comfort, then I'll say, okay, look, let's draw some rules here. These are that's just my rule. And this is where it ends. If you're swearing or you're rude, that ends. But let's keep it funny and friendly, and that's what it's all about. Is when you get, and I know you have a social worker come to you and want to do a behavioral modification plan. That's what they were called years ago. I think it's still called that. Behavioral modification.
yeah,
That should be for this family, not for the one who has autism.
maybe kind of a combination of all of them,
Oh, exactly, because you need to modify
everybody's behavior.
everybody's behavior, and then you're going to have it like in a marriage. You go for marriage, together. You go for counseling. I always say, be the two of you. It's not one person. That's the fault. It takes two to break a marriage. It takes two to break a marriage. And I see that in a family. You think that it'll take one to collapse this family. That's the person with autism. It's a person who did not try to make that member of your family feel valued.
I think you answered my question, which was, what's the biggest challenge people of, autism and neurodiversity face in travel? We talked about those. If you want to add anything to that, do you have any others to add?
The most important thing is that they be given I always say that you've got to let that person that has autism be in the limelight. Let them feel that they are the ones that have chosen the holiday. They're in charge. When you I challenge every parent who has a family member with autism, give them the reins. Stop holding so tight. You're not going to, autism does not disappear by you squeezing tightly. It doesn't. But just try and let them be the be all and end all. And if they're not behaving well, twist it around and they're telling you, ask them. You know what? I understand you're really upset. You're throwing things around the house. Tell me why you're so upset. And if it's something that I've done, please tell me why are you upset? And you may hear something really out to lunch. It could be, well, 2 weeks ago, you guys went to the mall and you all came back with something. But you can get a stupid ball. And that was nothing. It was you went shopping, and you know that you all went shopping because of graduation. You went to go pick up a dress. So yes, you all went. But why was that valued member of your family at home? Or were they left out? And so you know what? It takes years. If you have someone who's 17 and is really, really having a tough time at school, it's taken 17 years for their anger to be the level that it is at. So 17 years of all the times you go out with some of the family and leave this person at home because they are too much to work with, too hard to deal. They get into such a state, it's not where I can't do it. I have to de-stress. I have to go out. I have to be away from this shop. No. You don't want to de-stress. If you want to de-stress, you want to de-stress with your family member. Because if you're stressed, it's because they're stressed.
I have, this is my last question. I didn't say the last question. My last question. Okay. What are you most excited about in the autism neurodiversity and travel space?
I am the most excited about families that are willing to try and work with us. Try to listen to how we've done it. Just let's try it. You know what? What have you got to lose? That's the way I always tell everybody. Try working with us because we will make sure that you have everything that you need in place. And that makes me the most excited because over the years I've talked to so many families. We can't afford to travel. But we get that. Maybe you're a single mom. Maybe things are expensive. We get that. So let's plan. Let us help you get to the point where you can make a trip. Or if it's something where the family says, we just want to have a romantic evening. Well, we get that. We don't want to have those as a family. So let us plan that work with your travel. There is a great place in Jamaica, I think it's still there. But every family that stays there gets a nanny, which I think is great. You use that nanny not to change your sheets and wash your towels, but use that nanny so that nanny can do something with the entire family. And you can say, you know what? We've got to celebrate our anniversary. And even if you manage to escape the family for 3 hours to have a nice dinner and drink a whole bunch of wine, you've been able to have that little space that you wanted. And when you come back, what's your first thing? To thank your family. Thanks so much, guys, for not blowing up the place. Be funny. Make it something you can laugh at. Don't come back and think you're being so well behaved. Now that's just tonight. Make it funny. Come back and say, oh my gosh, all in one, please. You all have the same arms and feet. We did wrong. And that's the way to do it. It's funny. Add humor to it. People ask me all the time, how do you manage to have MS and have MS progress, because it has progressed the last 2 months. And so I've had people send me flowers and we're so sorry that this has happened. And I say to them, you know what? I was prepared for it. MS is a progressive disease. I was prepared for the fact that I may not be able to walk. But I said, don't feel sorry for me. And that's the worst thing is don't feel sorry for anyone with autism, because children with autism can be brilliant. I'll never forget when one of my kids took part in TV. The mother was having a bird, and You put these TV back together again, and it worked. And I said to the mom, I said, so what are you gonna do now? I don't know, what should I do? You should jump up and down and tell like your child, oh my gosh, A, don't ever take the TV apart. B, wow. You've put it back together. You've turned this what could be a really, really ugly mess situation of raised voices and call out a social worker. I've even had parents call cops. I think your child's not going to kill you. Why are you calling the cops? And just some of the stuff you have to just, had they just loosened the grip. You grip parents, caregivers, grip children with autism so damned hard. I'm not surprised sometimes that the behaviors that you get.
I just want to say that travel, like kudos to you, and travel is very, very important. And sometimes travel can even be less expensive than staying at home for some people. They go live on a boat. They can have perspective in their lives. They learn so many things from other cultures, other people. They can see the world through different lenses, different eyes, you know, and I don't know, you just open up another world for your children.
You do. It's so, I mean, children are very, by their very nature, regardless of having Down syndrome, autism, spinal cord injury, they are by their very nature inquisitive. They want to know what that is, why that is. So you know what, from a young age, start to move to really, really allow them to be inquisitive, because if they are inquisitive, they're going to be curious about everything, including travel. If they're scared of travel, there's a reason they're scared of travel.
Yeah.
Did they watch Die Hard 2 many times? Because if that's the case, if they've sat there and watching, you know, him, Mr. McLean, going in and saving his life because these guys are going to Molly at Christmas, well, no wonder he wants to go. It doesn't want to go away Christmas time. So be conscientious as a family as to what you all watch, not just what the member with autism, what you all watch. If you put on Die Hard, it's one of my favorite movies. Christmas favorite. But be conscientious, be aware that everything you do, you have eyes on you. And a child with autism, although you think they're not listening and they're not paying any attention, they can tell you verbatim what you just said.
Well, you have been delightful. And do you have any other words that you want to say to this wonderful audience of soon-to-be travelers?
That's right, soon-to-be travelers. Just take a deep breath and let it go.
Nice. Okay. Thank you so much. You've been wonderful, wonderful. Awesome information. So everybody get on, put on your traveling shoes and boots and hats and experience the world with your kids. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.